Today on Miss Pursuit, Alyson, Woman of the North Woods on Instagram, joins us for a conversation about how she began in the outdoors, hunting with hounds, contributing to Miss Pursuit and the articles that she writes. And I'm very glad that she's able to join in this group of women who are transparent and honest about their hunting in our community. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Miss Pursuit. Today, I have Alyson, a.k.a. Woman of the North Woods on Instagram, joining us today. And Alyson, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk a little bit.
Yeah, well, we've connected through Carly and through Miss Pursuit, and I've been following you for a little bit before that. And man, the joy that you have on your face when you're doing stories, and I think that that's like even before I knew Carly and everything, just following your stories and man, they're just the truth behind it and the transparency, the bad, the good, the all of it. It really inspired me. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for noticing. I try to kind of be an open book. And I mean, I know a lot of my stories are dealing with like the dogs and stuff like that and all the shenanigans that they get into. And like you said, the good, the bad, and the ugly of pretty much everything in my life.
You know, but I hope the trend is kind of going that way to honesty and just being yourself out there. I know with social media, there's a balance with that, with how much do you put out, how much of your real life do you put out there for safety's sake, of course. But I think that there's a balance in there that allows for transparency, especially with the women in our community, because it is so necessary to be able to relate to each other. So good job on that. You're doing great.
Well, thanks. That's what I was hoping for, because I know, there's some of those accounts that you follow where everything just seems to be so shiny and amazing. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not that amazing, but here, take a look at what I get to deal with every day.
Yeah, it's true though. It's true. And I think that, I don't know, I could show everything about my day in and day out with my kids and my dogs. We were just talking as we got on here, my dog just ate half a cake and we're having to deal with that. And so there's the real life of that, but I don't know. I have my personal page with all of the family stuff on there, and and then I've got the hunting page, but it still means a lot to me that it's not just smoke and mirrors put out there, that it's not just, oh, I got a deer and it's a great deer, and it didn't show the work that went into it or all of the other attempts where I got nothing like that. That's not real. That's
right.
It's just a highlight reel. And I have a hard time relating to people that show just the great part of hunting, because that's not hunting. It's just the best parts of it. I need to see failure. I need to see the steps backwards, the trips and the injuries and the mistakes, because without those, I can't learn from somebody else, but nobody can learn from me. And I want to be in a community where we can grow from each other, not just wish that we were each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that community is a really important word that you just said.
Yes.
And I actually do also have a separate Instagram that's my personal account.
Yeah.
But I noticed that, all of my friends from high school, just where I grew up and whatnot, I was one of maybe 5 people, in a 1,200 person school that was into the outdoors. So, no one really cared about my outdoor accomplishments and things like that. So I made the Woman of the North Woods account, and it's amazing how many people I've connected with, including yourself, and being able to share everything about my life in the outdoors and learn so much from other people too, because I feel like I'm still just getting into, all these sports almost. But
it's true. And, when I started hunting, I wasn't in the social media hunting community. And honestly, it was a little lonely. I mean, I'm grateful for that time because I grew so much and I was just focused on learning and growing and hunting, and it was very organic and it was all mine. But there is a sense of inspiration that when I got on Instagram, connecting with other people that hunted, it grew. It grew me. It grew my desire. It grew my my want to go further and to try new things. And I think without those connections, I would still be probably doing the same thing over and over and over instead of stepping outside of that.
Right.
Yeah. And connecting with people allows you to step into their world for a minute and see if that's something you want to try or if that's someone you want to connect to. Hey, Alyson, I want to come visit you. I want to see how you do it. I don't even have to hunt alongside of you. I don't have to have a tag, but I'd like to just walk alongside of you and see how you do it. And I think that those opportunities are laid at our feet when we connect with people in our community. So it's fun. It's been fun.
Yeah, I definitely have had people that, are asking about, different hunts and wanting to get together and hunt together. And it's really cool because now, especially being a female in the outdoors, I have the world of other outdoor women at my fingertips here that I can go, bear hunting with or deer hunting, whatever it might be. So
yeah, it's a connection. It's a way that, it used to be just family. Hey, can I come hang out with you? Would you take me hunting? Could I, work for a little bit and then hunt alongside of you? And stepping outside of just family connections, we used to not have that because our world was a little bit smaller in our community, in our circle of reaching out and touching somebody. And I think that this has opened up an amazing world, especially to women, to be able to connect and go visit. And I'm grateful for it. I'm very grateful for it.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's take a step back. I kind of want to hear your background, who you are, how you did get started, because you were saying, back when you were in school, you were one of very few people that were in the outdoors. So give us kind of a background on you and how you began.
So I grew up in Mequon, Wisconsin, which is kind of close to the Milwaukee area. And my dad would, ever since my sister and I could basically walk alongside him, we would always go out for walks and stuff. We had the big woods behind us. And then he was a big duck hunter and still is. And mostly just any type of waterfowl, birds, whatnot. So when my sister and I weren't able to get our hunter safety license yet, we would follow him around. Like if him and his friends went to a game farm, we'd follow him around and we'd carry his birds for him after he shot them. And so, that was just the coolest thing to me. And then my sister and I both got our hunter safety licenses. As young as we could. I don't even know what the age was at the time.
Yeah.
And I have stuck with it the most since. And every once in a while, my sister will join in, once or twice a year just for fun.
Yeah.
But I grew up with my dad, duck hunting, pheasant hunting, a little bit of goose hunting, but not so much. And we would go out to North Dakota once every year. And it's been harder since I've been in school, of course, because that's a whole week off of school.
Right.
But luckily my parents, even throughout, high school and middle school, my teachers and my parents were incredibly supportive of me spending that week in North Dakota with my dad and all of his friends, because they just thought it was so cool. They'd never seen that really at our school district before, that this young girl wants to go spend a week out in the middle of nowhere killing birds with their dad. And but it was a really good learning opportunity, a really good bonding opportunity. And I can definitely say that my passion for a long time was always just waterfowl and going on pheasant hunts. And then eventually I found an old Browning compound bow in my dad's safe downstairs. And I asked him, I'm like, is this yours or where did this come from? He's like, I honestly don't even remember where it came from. So picked up the bow and kind of shot it a few times after we got it checked out, make sure it was still in working condition.
Right.
I was like, I kind of want to start deer hunting. And he's like, okay, well, we can find some places to go.
Yeah.
Because he had gone a lot more when he was younger, like with his family and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But so he's like, all right, we'll find somewhere to go. And I spent my first season of deer hunting just during gun season. Mm-hmm. And I had a couple opportunities and I just didn't take it at the time. So it actually wasn't until like 2016, I think, I shot my first buck with that old Browning bow.
That is awesome.
And as a reward, I bought myself a new bow.
Good for you.
Other one was, it was rattly. The sight was like not even a real sight. I don't know. It was, it definitely taught me a lot about shooting a bow, that's for sure.
Right.
And then around the same time as when my boyfriend and I had kind of met and were hanging out as friends, and he would come up on our family vacations for a couple days up in Phillips, Wisconsin. And it would be during training season for bear hunting. And he'd always talk about this baiting thing and running dogs. And finally I had the courage to ask him, I'm like, do you mind if I like check that out? Like, What is that all about? He's like, yeah, you can come up. So I started, I think I figured it was like 2014. So a couple of years before the deer, but 2014, I went up and started hunting with him, and I was pretty much hooked after the first day. I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So,
man, dogs add a whole new level to it, right?
Oh, 100%. And it's not even hunting for us at that point. It's hunting for the dogs, which is really cool.
You going back to your Browning, the bow, the first compound bow, well, the only homebound bow that I have is my brother's old Browning. And so that's what I still shoot. I'm looking and trying out a whole bunch of bows. I have a very short draw length, so finding something that works poundage wise and growth wise and all of that has been kind of difficult. But I still have my, like, it's right in the room next door, my Browning bow.
Nice.
So I know the feeling.
I have since turned that one into a bow fishing bow, so it still gets its use, just not as much.
I mean, when the bones are there and it's a good bow, like it's a great bow. It is strong. It does what it's supposed to do. But I think I went to a show one time and I went up to Browning and I said, well, I don't have a gun, but I've got a bow of yours. And their jaws dropped. What do you mean?
Oh, really?
And I said, well, I've got a Browning bow. And they said, you have what? I said, yeah, I've got a Browning bow that I shoot. And they said, okay. We haven't seen one in a really long time. But, it shows you there, though, that it's mind over matter, right? As long as it's safe, as long as it works, as long as it's strong, it's going to do its job. It's going to do what you have worked it to do. You don't necessarily have to have something flashy and new. You can hunt with what is at your fingertips.
Right.
Yeah. Now flashy and new is kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's changing up and getting something that works a little bit better and is fine-tuned, and everything that they've come up with new has been great and works wonders. But there's just something about going back to an old classic, and and finding use out of it, whether it's a training bow, or which is how it has started with me, or it's something that you hunt with, or you change it into a bow fishing bow, whatever. The bones are there, but that's cool. You said that and I went, no way. Good old Browning bows. We should tag them in this. We're talking about you. Oh my goodness.
Want them back as a collector's item at this point, I guess.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we were talking about bear hunting, and did you that season, were you more of just observing, or did you actually get to take a bear that season?
So I mean, it was a lot of observing, definitely, and just kind of seeing how all the guys interact, like work together, driving around a huge chunk of forest up there and kind of understanding how bears like to run. And I mean, it takes 7 years to get a tag for a bear, so I actually still have to wait a couple years before I can get one myself, but I've definitely been under a good amount of bear trees every year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first year it was crazy. I think the first bear tree I ever went to, it was sitting really low in like a pine tree. And I walked right up to the tree, and I swear that thing was about 5 feet above my head.
Oh my goodness.
And then all the dogs are just going crazy around it, and the bear's drooling and snapping its jaws. And I just remember looking at Ben, my boyfriend, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you're not scared that it's going to do anything to you guys? He goes, no. Usually it's more focused on getting away from the dogs. It's not trying to be aggressive. So yeah, after that first time, I was like, I need to see that again for sure.
Yeah. I think that we underestimate the years that you observe, whether you're a kid, like you said, following your dad. You probably didn't even realize at the time that you were soaking things in that you would be applying later in life. And that being able to look back, hindsight's 2020, and being able to see all the lessons along the way while you were just observing before you could even have a license, the ability to grow without even the opportunity to shoot. It amazes me. Our kids have followed us for years, hiking, fishing, all of that, before actually doing anything. And it was really cool to see how seamless it was to transfer into being the one hunting or fishing. So I don't know, all those lessons kind of add up along the way, and it's important not to undervalue it.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible. Here in Tennessee, under a certain age, you don't have to have a license. You don't have to go to hunter safety. You can hunt as long as you're with a parent, as long as there's safety and ethics in place. I've seen pictures of kids as young as 5 taking a deer, and
right.
It's beneficial being in a state that you can do that. I think, what was it? Our kids were born, and my dad said, hey, what would be a great present for your kids? And I said, a lifetime sportsman's license, period. Because before 3 years old, I think it was $200. So for $200, you would have a lifetime sportsman's license. They can hunt anything they want to, except for they'd have to get like the federal duck stamps and things like that.
Sure.
But for their entire life, for me to get that right now, it'd be $1,800.
Wow.
And I think that even though your kids might not hunt or fish right now, as babies, it's investing in their future, right? It's saving them money on the backside of it. They'll always be able to come back to Tennessee wherever they live. They can always come back here and hunt for the rest of their lives. And I don't know. It's those little bitty investments in the beginning, whether it's a license or taking them with you to observe. I'm grateful that your dad did that because, what was just fun and probably for him a way to go hunting turned out to be something that really impacted your lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure sometimes he even gets frustrated with me because I'm sure as a kid, he was telling me, oh, be quiet, slow down, watch your walking. And now I feel like I do the same thing to him. And like, Dad, stop talking. Like, you're going to scare him away. So I guess he just can't really win, but he still has fun.
I think that's partner hunting too, right? When you're hunting with somebody else, nobody hunts the same. When the kids go with me versus the kids going with my husband, they're like, Mom, you're way more quiet. You don't talk. You don't pass gas. You don't this is kind of nice. Sorry, hubby. But it's way different hunting with somebody else, even though you might have been hunting with them your entire life. There are different characters. There's different ways that you do things. There's always something, but it always surprises you when the roles switch. It'll be fun to see in the future if my kids are like, hey, Mom, chill out, or vice versa. If it's still, hey, kids, shut up.
Right.
But that's... taking our kids out, it is definitely one of those, it's a balance of, okay, am I really going out to get something? Or is this one of those days that we're going to learn a lot from?
Right.
Both worth mountains to me, whatever hunt that is. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Kudos to your dad.
Love you, Dad.
Yeah.
JC listens to this.
Thank you for your patience. Lots of patience.
But yeah, I know you talked a little bit about hunting with your husband or not hunting with him and the kids hunting between the two of you. But yeah. I've noticed ever since my boyfriend and I have been together, so he's definitely more of the large game guru, and I am kind of the small game guru and bird hunter, like I mentioned. So we definitely learn a lot from each other, which is really cool to kind of see the balance we have. Like when we go on a duck hunt or a pheasant hunt, I'm kind of the lead,
right?
And when we do the deer, bear, whatever, he's kind of the lead. But I do have to say he's been very patient with me during bear season, because I know I dove pretty much head first into it ever since that first season. And I know sometimes I make comments as if I'm the one that's been doing it for years, not him. But every once in a while he listens to what I have to say, and I'm extremely, extremely thankful and grateful for his entire group that's called the Good Old Boys, for really accepting me in and teaching me literally everything I know, and just showing me the ropes and supporting me and my dogs. So it's been a lot of support all around, and I really love it.
I think it's good when you have somebody who isn't necessarily exactly like you in the things that you hunt. Because like you said, you can learn from each other, and it keeps things from getting boring. My husband and I hunt what he has hunted in his lifetime, because I came into it after he did. But this year I jumped into bird hunting, duck and geese, and he had never done that before. So bringing him into that, it was a flip of role. It was something that we kind of switched, and it was exciting to have him listening to my suggestions, or listening to the things that I had learned along the way. And I still take his advice whenever it's given, but it has kind of evened out on us just having a conversation and kind of troubleshooting together. And I think whether it's a significant other or a friend or a dad or sibling, that being able to get to that place where it's mutual respect it adds to the excitement. You'll never be bored because it's constantly learning from each other. And we bring different things to the table, different specialties, different ways of, I might be able to track better than he does, or he might have a better idea of where to find game. And so when you work as a team in prep, especially before a season starts, it works great to bring different people to the table that can add more to what you are doing versus the same thing that you can do. I'd rather that any day. Yeah.
Yes.
Because you both get better, right? You both get better. You up your chances of a good hunt day at the end of it. And
oh, for sure.
It's an added benefit. But yeah. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about dog hunting, hunting with dogs, because you love your dogs. And I mean, I love my dogs, but my dogs are not hunting dogs. They are sweet, precious, fluffy dogs that like to lay around on the couch and eat up all the food. But how do you go? Because you got a puppy this year. And how do you start that training process? What have you been doing along the way?
Oh, goodness. Well, technically, I guess we actually got 3 puppies within this last year. So I'll actually start with Goose. He's our black lab, and he's our indoor dog, but he's also a bird dog. And I started him pretty much as soon as the day we picked him up, actually. It was early goose season, and we got a goose for him, and obviously he was about a quarter of the size of the goose, but he still, tried to drag it around. And I brought him out to North Dakota with us last year at 3 months old, and he followed our my parents' lab around, and he was actually amazing as far as just temperament and really paying attention and learning. And we took him pheasant hunting, I think 2 or 3 times this year, maybe 3 times. And they were at game farms just because we probably weren't going to have luck in a field with a dog that didn't know what it was doing.
Right.
But, he was 6 months old at the time, and he found all the birds we bought plus 1 extra.
Wow.
And it was crazy. He did it all on his own, and he even pointed, which was an added bonus. So training him was really fun. He's a very smart dog, and I believe labs in general are very smart, but he definitely made it fun.
Well, and them learning from each other, like you said, taking him out in the beginning and following the other labs, that it amazes me how they watch each other and learn. And I mean, we're the same way, but it's exciting to see animals do that. We have that in our own house right now, just picking up the same mannerisms, and how you kind of have to be careful about who they're around and learning from. So was there another dog out on the pheasant hunt too that he was able to watch, or was he just doing that all on his own?
He was all on his own for
That's
the pheasant
amazing.
hunts, which is it was crazy. I mean, there's definitely natural instinct, but I mean, being able to just show him the right way once or twice, and then he'd pick it up. So
he has
I've
the
had
passion.
a lot of fun with him.
He has the passion.
And he's definitely a special dog too. He's pretty goofy, but when it's time to hunt, I think he really changes gears, which is really cool to see.
Very cool. He's a pretty dog too. I was looking back at him when you introduced him. I was like, oh, he's pretty.
Yeah. And then we have the other 2 hounds that we got. One we got 4 months ago. That's Loco. And then 2 months ago, we got Bailey. And so Loco is he's a Walker Coonhound, but I think there might be something mixed in them. And then Bailey is a Plot Hound. And Loco might get his chance to run a bear because he's growing at an exponential rate. He is a huge hound. So I'm hoping that maybe this coming weekend, if presented, the right opportunity, he'll get to run. But Bailey is just observing this season. She is way too small.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as training him, I mean, I'm not the expert dog trainer. I pretty much learned things from Ben and everyone else and then kind of apply it. But Loco he'll just kind of listen to the other dogs. And I mean, he definitely sees what's going on. And we actually had a bear cross the road this weekend, and then the dogs crossed right behind it. So I took Loco out of the box and walked him up there, and you could definitely tell he smelled the bear because all of a sudden his nose hit the ground. And then he let out a little bark because he could hear the other dogs barking behind it. And it was crazy how it just turns on just like that. All they need to be is shown something once and
they go for it.
And then they're kind of like, okay, so this is my goal here.
Was that picture that you posted recently, was that him treeing the bear?
No, that was actually one of our other dogs.
Okay.
But things definitely clicked for her this year. She, her brother, which we have, is a really, really good bear dog. And she's kind of finding her way. She's kind of a follower. But seeing her at that tree this last weekend.
That was an amazing shot. That was an amazing photo.
Yeah, she was treeing hard, and it was really cool for all of us to see because it's like, well, she might be a follower, but at least she'll keep that thing up there,
Right, so. Exactly. Wow. It amazes me seeing hunts like that, just the passion that the dogs have. It's, I think in the non-hunting world, people look in and they can see this fierce dog barking, and they don't see the joy that the dogs find in this. They don't see the working dog side of it. Dogs were bred to work. Like, that is innate in their system, is to be a working dog. Whether you've got a poodle or you've got a German Shepherd or whatever you've got, they were working dogs from generations and generations ago. It is in their DNA. And all you have to do is show them, like you said, sometimes just once, and it innately comes out, their joy and their passion for it. And so, I don't know, denying sometimes that drive, you get dogs who get bored and behavior issues jump up and all of those kind of things. So giving them a task, whether it is hunting or whether it's something else, it feeds their desire to do something like that. But
right, and that's go ahead.
I was just saying that it's so great to see dogs working like that, like in your photos and your stories and things like that. It's exciting to see.
Yeah, and that's why, like, ever since I started bear hunting, for sure, I'm a huge advocate for, like you said, letting working dogs work, because I think a lot of people are trying to cross breeds and mix breeds and things like that, and it's like you're destroying a bloodline. Like, these dogs, believe it or not, had a purpose,
right?
A very specific purpose, hundreds of years ago, and especially with like hounds, people that have hounds as non-hunting dogs, it's like, yeah, they might be used to that lifestyle, but if you let them go on the right animal, I'm sure there's that instinct there, and they just want to go. And
yeah, throw a rabbit in front of them and see what they're going to do.
Right. And it's just crazy to see, and people don't really understand that. That they're like, oh, well, you keep your dogs outside, like, that's pretty mean. They think that the hunting, and I guess you could, not to get too political here, but like with the greyhound racing and stuff like that being shut down, it's like that's what these dogs do. And just this weekend, our dogs, we had 2 of them for sure that ran, I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 20 miles, just chasing a bear all morning. And, you know, people think we're forcing them to do it, but we couldn't pull them off that bear if we tried.
Stop them.
Like they want to go. You can't just walk in there and grab them because they will run away from you to keep going.
It's very true.
It's really cool to watch them work. And I just like to talk to people about that so that they understand that like these dogs are doing what they love and they will die doing it.
Well, and you've always got, no matter where you are in whatever community you're in, you're going to have bad examples, right? You're going to have people that abuse the dogs. You're going to have people that give the name of hunting with dogs a bad name. So having people out there who can educate, who can be great examples, we need more of them. It's we had a whippet for almost 16 years. Man, she was old when she passed away this year, and it was heartbreaking. But in her prime, she was mixed with something else. She was a pound puppy, but she would be in the backyard, and I can't tell you how many rabbits she caught just in the backyard. And it wasn't even like, hey, there's a rabbit, go get it. It was just the rabbit was out there, and she would pounce on it, and she didn't know what to do with it afterwards, but she knew she needed to chase it. And we had seen her with snakes in her mouth, tossing them around. And it's our dogs are they are wild on the inside. They, like you said, it is in their history to do these kind of things, to chase, and they love it. And I don't want to deny a dog ever to be able to do that. So finding, like I just said, finding good examples like you guys and others who hunt with hounds, it's so good. It's so good to get you in the spotlight for people to see. These dogs are spoiled rotten. They are loved. They are pampered and given every opportunity that they can possibly have, but they're also allowed to work. They're not made to. They are allowed because they love it. Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to talk a little bit because this goes right into it. Girls with Hounds. Tell me a little bit about Girls with Hounds. So that is kind of one of my favorite things right now, actually, especially during this time of year. So it was started by a girl, Cora, out in West Virginia, I believe. And when I had started the Woman of the Northwoods Instagram while I was deployed, she and I had followed each other, and then same with like Jordan Wright and like a couple of the other pro staffers that are now part of it. And then eventually she came out with this brand, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And, you know, it was just supposed to advocate for dog hunting and educate on dog hunting, and especially originally, you know, just getting females into the sport. Right. Like female houndsmen. And then eventually it turned also into Hunt with Hounds, so that the males can be involved too, which is great. And she was looking for pro staffers and, you know, to send in a little bit about ourselves and what we can bring to the table. And I was like, yeah, why not, you know, and sent in for it and was chosen. But I love it because my parents own a small business. So I'm all about helping out small businesses, and that's exactly what she is. I mean, she started this thing from absolute scratch, and I'm pretty sure it's international now, and it's amazing to see how many people she is able to engage with through social media, and just bringing everyone's experiences into one place where we can share with each other. And being able to represent that, and, you know, wear the merchandise out in public and have people be like, oh, you know, what's that? And it's a conversation starter. Right. And it's an education piece, and it's just a really amazing thing that she started. Yeah. I think that, the word pro staff can come and go with good and bad conversation,
Yes.
right? And I think that having a good definition of it, which is, like you said, with this brand, starting a conversation. It's something that you represent in order to educate, to talk with people about what it's all about and shed light on something that maybe has a reputation with non-hunters and especially anti-hunters and dog advocates and everything like that, that it can be a good thing to have good representation out there in the world of women and men who work with animals in a way that you don't get to see in everyday life. So that's something very, very positive in the world and the community that we have right now is to have good representation of hunters and people that work with dogs. So I'm glad you got to fill us in on that just a little bit, and on Cora and her stance and what she hopes to get out there, just conversation wise. It's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's definitely a different feel from like I was a DSG field staffer for their new ice fishing line this last winter.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a difference in the definition of pro staff or field staff. Because for them, you're testing a product, you're giving feedback, you're also getting the name out there. It's advertising.
Right.
But with Girls with Hounds, it's different. It's not really pro staffing for advertising. It's pro staffing as in like leading the way for other people to, follow your example and just be an advocate for the sport, not just a brand.
Right.
And I mean, I kind of have a long distance friend out of it too. She's not like a boss at some big corporate company. She's, this girl in another state that says, hey, I like you. Let's get to know each other and do something great with it. So.
Right. That's awesome. I love your way of defining both of those. It's pretty cool. There can be definite negatives out there in talking about, they talk about, oh, you just got free stuff, so that's why you threw it out there. Yeah. But when you have passion behind it, and when you really believe in what you're doing, you can tell, right? You can really tell the difference. So good job, Cora. I'm while we were talking, I was looking through there. I was like, follow. Make sure I look into that, just because I want to support women out there who have that passion and want to educate and stand firm in what they believe in. It's pretty cool. So, okay, I want to step, because I could talk to you all day. This is fun. I want to though talk about, because you're in the Army, and we tried connecting a couple months ago, and you got thrown into all of this COVID stuff. And I kind of want to touch on that, because you are balancing. People just see us in the hunting world as hunters, but they don't see the other side of us. So tell us a little bit about your Army career.
I would definitely just describe everything broadly as a very unconventional lifestyle currently. I feel like I'm just kind of floating in the middle of nowhere doing my own thing because, right out of high school, I joined the Army. And then after that, I took a semester off, went to college, got some prereqs done. And then I got sent to Kuwait for a year. So I was over there working in an emergency room, basically, and taking care of other soldiers and civilians. And came home, did some more school. Well, I finally got accepted into the nursing program, which was my main goal.
It's exciting. And not a small feat. Congratulations.
Right. Well, thank you. So yeah, my first semester of nursing school started in February. And then by March, everything went digital. And then by the end of March, I also got told by the Army, hey, we need you guys in some COVID hotspot. We weren't told at the time where we were going, but we need you guys to take care of people. So I was like, all right, sounds good. This is going to be interesting with nursing school. But all my instructors were really supportive of it, and I was able to continue with school while I was gone. But yeah, from April through most of May, I was actually in New Jersey. And we started off in one of those like convention centers that they had turned into a hospital. And then as the civilian nurses came in and kind of took over the ropes on that, they sent some of the like more experienced of us into local hospitals. So I was actually working in a hospital in New Jersey in one of their ICUs. I actually started off in the emergency room because that's where I work here at home. And I was like, I want to learn more. I want to do more and see more. So I had a couple ICU nurses take me under their wing and taught me a lot, like more than you could ever imagine. And I got to see a lot of sick people. I got to see a lot of people dying, some people getting better. It was definitely a roller coaster of emotions, I guess. You just never knew what you were going to walk into. And my hope is that people just keep trying to stay safe.
Yeah. It's been a while since I was in the hospital setting. I was a scrub nurse in cardiac surgery. And it, of course, being a heart person, working with the vascular system and all of that, you also saw trauma. And I mean, I can't tell you how many ER cases would come up that you would either lose or win. And it changes you a little bit. But the difference between, and I mean, you're in nursing school now, the difference between hands-on training and classroom, I mean, you need both, but the amount of information that you learn being thrown into a situation where you just have to know it is, you can't replace that. There is no replacing it, and it makes you a better nurse. So as difficult as the hard times are, like in hunting, the hard times you learn the most from and you grow from, and you will be a better nurse for. So I'm grateful for your time up there. I'm sure that people who you touched, lives that you touched, and families that you took care of, they are appreciative of it too. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You kind of have two service, whether it's Army and hospital. It's you're serving on the front lines. So good job. Very good job.
Thanks.
It was fun while I was at it that I got out. I was working with kids here in Nashville at Vanderbilt Hospital. And this will show my age. It was before our children's hospital even opened. I helped transfer over. And it was one of those situations where if I ever get to the place where I'm hardened enough that I don't feel anything when I lose a child, I need to step back. And it ended up happening. And it's not because I'm a bad person. It's the way that your body and your mind and your heart kind of give it boundaries to kind of keep it safe. And I said, I need to step back. And one day I might go back to it. But in that moment, it was the best decision for me to kind of step back for a little bit and retrain my brain, I guess, in a way. But yeah, man, that experience is one that you will carry with you forever, for sure.
And it's definitely a part of history now, which is kind of just the icing on the cake. But I mean, there was a lot of people involved, and even my instructors, at school told me, they're like, you just do what you have to, because you're probably going to learn more out there than you ever will in school. So I'm extremely, extremely grateful that even though I've kind of had an unconventional route of life, and I feel like I'm here, there, everywhere, not even working half the time. But I've been learning so much along the way, and I've had so many amazing mentors in every aspect of my life. I don't really know how it ended up that way, but I'm really glad that it did.
Well, I think that we as people, you either have that go get it attitude of, teach me. I'm an open book. I'm a sponge. Let me just get in there and show me the ropes and put me to work. Or you have those people that go in, well, I know it all. I don't need your help. And they're closed off. And you and I both know in the hospital world, you have cliques and you have people that can actually close down, and it's hard to cross that boundary to be accepted in. And that attitude of teach me. I am teachable. I'm moldable. I want to learn from you is the best way that you can do that. And it transfers into the hunting world when you're mentoring or being mentored, having that open thought process, having that open heart and open soul to take it in is better than going in, well, I know everything. And I don't need to be taught anything, and you don't have anything that I should know about. I mean, those people aren't going to grow. They're stuck where they are, but constantly moving, like going back to when you started bear hunting and just being like, teach me. Let me absorb all of it that I can. I want to cannonball into it. I don't even want to dip my toe. Just fill me up with as much information as possible is the attitude that we all need to have in whatever community that you're in.
Right.
Yeah. So good job. Very good job. It's balancing your life in what you do to pay for the things that you love to do is always something that is hard to balance. So even though you say it's been unconventional, I feel like you've done a good job of it. Very good job. Okay, before we end, we need to talk about Miss Pursuit, because you have done an excellent job of being a contributor to Carly and to the group with the things that you are offering out, which kind of brings your hunting full circle, because you're sharing these things along the way that you have learned, and hoping that people will take little nuggets from it here and there. So tell us a little bit about how you've been involved with Miss Pursuit.
Definitely the articles is pretty much like our platform to give our expertise, which is actually really cool to see what everyone else, brings to the table. And they see things in a different view, and they notice things that you might not notice. So it's cool for me to read the other girls' articles. But I know my first article was essentially just about being a woman in the outdoors, which I know some people are like, oh, you get that, you hear that all the time, include women. But I think I see it more from a standpoint of some people just don't have that experience. Like they don't have, their wife or girlfriend or daughters that like to be in the outdoors. Right. So it kind of sheds light on, there are people out there that like that. And my second article was kind of back to the beginning of this, was about community and just trying to be a good sportsman. That's probably the biggest thing I could preach if I could keep writing the same article over and over again. Yes. Just having a platform for people to, read and think about, what are you doing to contribute to the outdoors and to the people around you? And then my most recent article was the first aid one, and I could write about that all day. Yeah, and we need it. It's just I mean, it's something I'm passionate about for sure. And then I know I had told all the ladies after this weekend that it came in handy for myself, or kind of proved my point that I got stung by a bunch of ground bees, which I'm allergic to all stinging insects essentially. And luckily didn't need to use my EpiPens, but I have my first aid kit right there on me at all times. And you just never know being in the outdoors, whether you just like to go hiking or fishing, camping, hunting, whatever it may be, just always being prepared.
Yeah,
so
it's true. I want to touch on two things that you've talked about just now. And one is, we talk all the time about women in the outdoors, and we do get flack sometimes for bringing it up all the time. And I want to make sure that people understand, whether you're a man or a woman, that the reason we say it isn't necessarily to say we are a woman, hear us roar. It's to say we are here. If you're interested, come join us. If you don't know anything, ask questions. If you are a man who has women in his life that might be interested, or maybe they don't even know that they could be interested, listen in. You might find ways that you could encourage them into your world. And so it's not a negative, you are all men, we're trying to enter a man's world of the hunting community. Please, not even please. I think that they hear a lot of times, you have no choice. We're coming in, we're taking over. And that's not it at all. It's, this is a way that you can learn. This is a way that you can hear different perspectives, maybe even grow a little bit outside of what you are normally used to hearing. And it's more of just an outreach. And there are a lot of women just like me who didn't have other women in their life who were in the hunting community. And so finding these platforms, finding these groups of women who are saying, here we are. If you need help, come join us. Our arms are open. This is where you can learn from. This is where you can safely ask a question without feeling dumb. Or, this is where you can read versus being talked to or explained into and told what to do. This is where you can kind of go at your own pace and take it as you want. And I think that that's something that we need to make sure is told. It's not it doesn't need to be defensive. It doesn't need to be aggressive. It's just a platform that you can find information on. And first aid wise, girl, that is right up my, I think I've had a first aid kit in my car since I was 15. And it started with my mom and my dad, and it has completely gone. There are always gloves in my car. There's always something, there's scissors, there's bandages, I am always prepared for anything wherever I go, because you never know. And I would rather be prepared and have it if it's needed and not need it, right? Than not have it when I need it. And that, yes, it can add weight. Yes, it can add, but there are ways around that. There are so many things out there that you can find emergency wise for long trips, for backpacking, for whatever it is. So I'm glad that you wrote that article. It was a good one. And very applicable to your weekend.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, Alyson, thank you so much for joining me today, for filling us in. I feel like you said about Cora, I've got a new friend. It brings on a way that I now know you a little bit better, and I can relate to you, and I feel like other women can feel that way as well. So thank you for sharing your heart and your passion with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad I could kind of give a little information on myself, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it gives you, and I think that these podcasts do just that. It gives not just background, but validity to what you write. It gives validity to your Instagram page. It gives validity to who you are. And I think that that's what stories do. And it's
definitely.
It's so important to get those out there. It's not just about the women who have hundreds of thousands of followers or all of these people that support them financially and give them all these free things. It's about women and men who do this every day because they love it. And so I'm appreciative of it. Tell everybody how they can follow you, all of the platforms.
So my main and only one that I use publicly is the Woman of the Northwoods account.
Yes.
On Instagram. And then, of course, you can see my articles on the Miss Pursuit website. Other than that, I keep everything else pretty much private, unfortunately.
No,
but
that's good.
Those two ways. And if anyone has questions or whatever, I'm pretty much an open book on Instagram. If you message me, I will 99.9% of the time message you back unless I'm up north. So.
Yeah. Also, you can find her on the Girls with Hounds page and yeah, Miss Pursuit. So thank you so much, Alyson. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Go follow Alyson on Instagram, Woman of the Northwoods, and go read some of her articles on Miss Pursuit. It has nuggets of information we can all pull from. And thank you again, Alyson. That was great.